Now, more on Israel. 17 UK nationals are among those dead or missing after Hamas's attack on Israel this weekend. The US has sent a team of technical experts to Israel to assist in the recovery of hostages in Gaza captured by Hamas. The terror group is believed to have kidnapped more than 100 people since their surprise attack at a music festival on Saturday, as the death toll rises to at least 1,200 Israelis and 900 Palestinians. Writer and broadcaster Emma Wolf is with me in the studio. Hi, Emma. But first, let's hear the latest on the ground from our correspondent in Jerusalem, Gareth Browne. Gareth, good morning. Tell me more about this rescue operation.
Well, it's a case of wait and see. There's still not exact information on how many people are missing. We're not even sure the authorities here know who's dead, who's possibly held hostage. I think there appears to be two sort of parallel tracks going on here. One is obviously efforts to get hostages out of Gaza and into safety, but there's also the planning and the buildup of what is expected to be a very, very substantial military operation, probably a ground invasion of Gaza, likely by the end of the week. So those two things are happening separately, parallel, but they're also very much linked. I mean, I think the worry is that if this ground operation, does begin in the coming days, then those hostages who are in Gaza could really be at risk, especially if there's significant aerial bombardment by the Israeli Air Force.
There's 173,000 soldiers, I think, in the Israeli army. They've got 300 reserve soldiers standing by. We're hearing that a ground invasion, as you alluded to there, Gareth, is imminent. What is the feeling about when these soldiers might start crossing the border?
It could be any time. I mean, it takes a while. You mentioned the soldiers there, but what Israel has done is they've brought back a huge number of reservists, and some of these reservists were in America, in Europe. They're all around the world, and they've flown back to Israel. They've been called to duty, perhaps 300,000, maybe even more. So these are huge numbers of soldiers. The thing is, you have to consider that Israel is really already stretched on two fronts. We have this buildup which is going around in Gaza. Now, the Israeli army estimate that there are about 30,000 Hamas-linked fighters in Gaza. Now, urban combat is going to require a huge number above and beyond that if they're going to, completely take control of Gaza, particularly the urban parts of it. But then you've also got a very delicate situation on the northern border. Just this morning, there's been exchange of fire with Hezbollah, several Israeli soldiers killed. That's something that could spiral out of control. And then you've got the situation in the occupied West Bank, where many Israeli soldiers have been based over the last 18 months or so. There's been real problems there, a rise in settler violence, attacks coming out of Jenin refugee camp and Nablus Old City. So the risk here is, okay, we can look at Gaza in isolation, and these numbers sound massive, but very easily this could spiral, and you could have Israel facing a really significant conflict on two or even three fronts. And then the numbers, they start to look a little bit more thin. But it seems, within the coming days, we're going to see, the launch of this ground invasion of Gaza. I think it's important to remember that the aerial campaign has already started. It started, within hours of that Hamas attack on Saturday, and we've had nearly 1,000 Palestinians killed within the Gaza Strip. And that's, that's before the real operation has even started. So I think one thing we can be sure about is that this is going to be a really, really bloody period, and there's going to be a lot of death.
I mean, every day in every way, these stories emerging from Israel get worse and worse and worse. And of course, yesterday, were the terrible revelations about this kibbutz in South Israel, where they found the beheaded bodies of 40 kids, including babies. I mean, the people of Israel must be in a mood of ferocious revenge. And tell us a little bit about what the mood, I mean, it's obvious they must be furious, but I mean, these stories are extraordinary, unprecedented. What is the mood in Israel about what they're learning about this attack over the weekend?
Yeah, I think this is a country still in shock, really. Whatever the specific details of the stories are, I think the dust really hasn't settled on this attack. The numbers of dead is still going up. I think there's still probably areas where, perhaps there are still bodies waiting to be found. I was speaking to some military sources last night, and they said, look, we can't rule out that there may still be Hamas fighters who crossed in on Saturday and they're still in the country, lying low, perhaps waiting, and they haven't pounced yet. But there's a lot of grief, of course. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration. There's a desire for revenge. I guess the challenge is whether that is what leads this operation that's gonna come back. Of course, there's going to be a very emotional response. And we have to see how the government is going to channel that into a kind of military operation.
Indeed. Gareth Browne, our correspondent in Jerusalem, thank you so much for your time.